Hello, welcome to Just Vintage Crochet and welcome to the 1970s. Isn't that beautiful? Well, as soon as I was done making the poncho, this was already on my list next to make. So I do want to make this, but I want to make it a little bit different. I'm not going to change anything about the actual layout of the pattern. I'm just going to change the size, but don't worry. I will make sure that you have all the knowledge you need to make the full size shawl. So I'm going to make this graded point here, like grid point, just to right here. And then I'm going to take this beautiful border and bring it all the way up to here and put it right here, only because my intentions for this shawl are to wear it as a waist wrap and not a shoulder wrap. So let's just jump right into this pattern right now. And of course, you can find the link for this pattern down below. It is originally a Bernat pattern, which is a Canadian brand. All right, so I will be using, this is an alpaca silk blend that I picked up from Expression Fiber Arts. I will leave a link for this down below. I'm not sure how much of this I'm going to need, so you can find the yarn amounts. All the details will be in the description box down below. This is a DK weight. It is a light DK weight. As far as wraps per inch go, I got 15 to 16 wraps per inch. So if you get anywhere from 14 to 16 wraps per inch with the material you have, you're going to be just fine. You have the right size material. And I am using a 3.25 millimeter hook. That is my recommendation, but the pattern does call for a 3 millimeter hook. So let's go ahead and start by chaining 4. In fact, I want a longer tail than that so that I can really weave this tail in at the end. So I'm going to leave myself a good half a foot long tail. And let's go ahead and chain 4. Make your first chain a bit loose because we've got quite a bit to pack in that first chain. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Yarn over twice. We will be working in just chains and treble crochets, and that's going to be US treble, UK double treble. Into your very first chain, work 10 treble crochets. We're looking for 11 total if you count your starting chain 4 over here. Okay, now what I recommend doing is grabbing a stitch marker and counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stitches over, and in the 6th stitch, mark that. That's where we're going to work the center portion, the center point of the shawl. So now it wants us to chain 5. Well, I like to turn first. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yarn over twice, and in the very next stitch over, go ahead and work a treble crochet. Chain 2, yarn over twice, and in the next stitch over, repeat. Repeat this until you get to that 6th treble over. Chain 2, chain 2, and we work another treble in the next stitch. Now into the next stitch, and we don't need the stitch marker anymore after that. Now in the next stitch, chain 2, and we're going to work a V-stitch. So 1 treble, chain 3, forgive me, chain 5, 3, 4, 5, forgive me, I'm sorry, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then work another treble crochet into the same stitch. Then just repeat everything we did going down the side of the mountain. So here we go. We don't skip any stitches. Chain 2, trebles all the way down. Second to last stitch. Chain 2, and then into the top of our starting chain. There we go. And that is how it should be looking right now. Okay, now for row 3, we're basically going to do the same thing, except for now we're going to start with a chain of 6 instead of 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yarn over and into the top of the next treble over, work your treble. Chain 2. Okay, we're going to work this all the way across, and when you get to the center point, you're just going to repeat the instructions for that. So you will chain 2 once you work your last stitch, and then into the center point, work a treble, chain 5, a treble, and then work your trebles separated by a chain 2 all the way down into the very last stitch. And in the last stitch, 1, 2, 3, 4, in the 4th chain, or you can do the 3rd chain if you really want to shear it up. That's okay. It doesn't have to always be the 4th chain. Just work your last treble in either the 3rd or 4th chain on the end. I'll be right back. Okay, just working in the last chain here. And I think I'm actually going to go to the 3rd chain up, just because I think it'll give me a straighter edge, and it does. It really cleans that edge up. Okay, now we're going to chain 6 and turn and repeat all of that again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There we go. This is row 4, so row 5 we're going to do things a little different. So now we're in row 4. Okay, so I will be back whenever we are ready for row 5. Okay, now for row 4, we're going to do things ever so slightly different. Let's turn and chain 6 instead of 5, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's mostly the same. Yarn over twice and into the next stitch over, work your treble. Now work a chain 3 between the stitches instead of a chain 2. That's really the only major difference. Chain 3, chain 3. You're still going to chain 5 in the point, so just go ahead and work this all the way to the end over here. Just going to be chaining 3s instead of 2s between the stitches. Other than that, nothing changes. Okay, I went ahead and counted 4 chains up, and I worked my last stitch into the 4th chain from the top. So now let's go ahead and work row 5. Let's chain 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yarn over twice and work 3 trebles into this first chain 3 space. And work 1 treble into the top of the next treble over, and then repeat. So 3 trebles in all the chain 3 spaces, 1 treble into the top of each treble. When you get up to the point, I will show you what we're going to do there. But this is the repeat right here. 3 treble, 1 into the top there. Okay, I will be right back. Work all the way up to this point and put 1 treble into the top of this treble right here of the point. Okay, I have worked my way up to the point. I have just worked my last treble crochet into the treble crochet of the point. So now, without chaining at all, just yarn over twice and jump right into that chain 5 space and work your point. So a treble, chain 5, and a treble. And then again, without chaining, just start working in the same stitch pattern all the way down to the end. So I will go ahead and finish this off camera, and I will be right back. All right, let's do row 6. So what I noticed with my practice piece is chaining 6 was causing at the start and the end of each row, that is, was causing a little bit of buckling, a little bit of curling, if you will. So I have opted to chain 7. You don't have to do that, and it may just be because of the size thread and hook I'm using, but I found that chaining 7 really does solve that issue for me. So I am going to chain 7 instead of 6 as the pattern suggests. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Yarn over twice, and in the next stitch over, work 1 treble. Now chain 3, and I'm going to do that a bit loose. Skip 3, and in the 4th stitch over, work a treble. Chain 3, rather loose again. I'm going to keep these loose just to keep that curling from happening. And 1, 2, 3 in the 4th stitch over, repeat. We're going to do this until we get pretty close to the end here. Then we're going to do things a little different, because at this point in the pattern, we're going to start to create the diamond shape that goes out. I'll show you. We're going to start to create this here. Okay. 1, 2, 3. Skip 3, 1, 2, 3, and in the 4th stitch, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. Let's see here. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, okay. And 1, 2, 3, 4. Now we're going to work 1 double crochet into each of the next 3. In the pattern it says 4, but in the pattern it says to chain 3 and work in the next 4. But I didn't speak it that way as I was working along. So all I simply did was work my next treble. So this next treble we just worked is the first of the 4 that we need to work in a row that the pattern talks about. So now I'm going to work 3 more to make a total of 4. So that's 1, 2, and 3. Chain 3. Skip this next treble and work your V-stitch. Okay, that's 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There we go. Now chain 3. Skip the next treble, and in the next one over, start working your 4 in a row. So that's 1, 2, 3, and 4. Chain 3, skip 3, 1, 2, 3, and work into the 4th. Okay, so I'm going to work this until we get close to the end. And once we get close to the end, I'll jump back on here and show you what we're going to do next. Okay, let's finish up this row together. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stitches left unworked. So now I'm going to skip 3, 1, 2, 3, and into the 4th stitch, work a treble, chain 2, and work a treble into my turning chain to the very top. There we go. Let's give everything a good stretch. There we go. That's how things are beginning to look. I really like it. I'm so excited for this pattern. Okay, let's move on to row 7. Okay, so now we're going to turn. I'm going to chain 7, but it does say to chain 6 in the pattern. 4, 5, 6, 7. Yarn over twice and right back into that same stitch. Work another treble. Now chain 3, and we're going to work our way over to the 4 trebles in a row. So we're going to stick with this same stitch pattern until we get to this point. So of course you're just going to work a treble into the top of each treble separated by a chain 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so I will be right back. There we go. Let's work this section together now. I've just chained 3. So now I'm going to work my 4 trebles in a row. There we go. Chain 3. Work a treble. Chain 3. Work a V-stitch in the chain 5 space. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then repeat everything going back down. Chain 3, work a treble here, chain 3, work your 4 trebles, and then all the way back down, and I'll meet back up with you when we get down to the other side. Worked my way down to the end. So now let's chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and I have 1, 2, 3, 4 stitches left unworked. So into the second to last stitch, work a treble, chain 3, and work another treble in the very last turning chain at the top. There we go, because that's how we started. Put this way. We started with our chain 7, and then in the very next stitch over, we worked a stitch, and that's precisely how we ended. So there we go. Okay, let's move on to row 7. This is perfect timing because maybe it looks a little darker on your end, but I have just about lost light. So now we did start this row off, row 7, with an increase. And we're going to end it with no increase. Only the beginning of each row in this pattern gets an increase. So now I'm going to give you some homework. So row 8 through row 13, through the end of row 13, is going to be worked exactly the same as the last 2 rows we just worked. So we're going to start with an increase, but we're going to end with no increase, just work into the top of the turning chain. And then you're going to chain 6 or chain 7, turn, and then work your increase on this side. But each row is going to end just like this, with no increase. Now we will work an increase, and I'm going to start with a chain of 7 and back into the same stitch, and chain 3 and work your stitch pattern as we did the last 2 rounds. So the same as round 6 and 7. You're going to work this sort of grid pattern all the way up to the point of the 4 trebles, then work your 4 trebles, chain 3, treble, chain 3, treble, chain 3, work your V-stitch. And so that's the way it's going to be until the end of row 13. And row 14, we're going to work another row of the solid. There we go. That is worked all the way up to the end of row 13. There we go. Okay. Now on to row 14, which is going to be a repeat of this solid treble crochet row. So we're going to chain 4 for our first treble on the end, yarn over twice, and work 3 trebles into every chain 3 space, and 1 treble over the top of a treble, like that. So go ahead and work this all the way up to the point, and then I'll come back and work the point with you. Very simple, exactly how we did it last time, but I'll just work it with you as a reminder. Then we will move on. It's actually a pretty easy pattern thus far anyway. We'll see how things go once we get down to the border section. I really am excited about this. I have been wanting to make myself a shawl slash like waist wrap for a while. So my vision is I like to wear like solid all one color whenever I wear something like this and make this the one pop of color in my outfit, if you can picture it. Do you see what I mean? So black leggings, black shirt like this with this wrapped around my waist as my one pop of color and some like red lipstick, and you can't go wrong. It's such a simple yet interesting outfit. You will stand out with such a simple outfit. But the color dynamic is so unique, you will stand out in a good way. People will be singing that song, "Who's That Lady?" I don't even know if I have the figure anymore to pull something like that off, but honestly, ask me if I actually care. I don't care. Okay, so just like how we ended the first time we made this, you're going to work 3 of your trebles into the very last chain space, and then work 1 more. I'm going to count 1, 2, 3, 4 into the 4th chain up. And that is how you want to end this row. Okay, let's move on to row 15. So for row 15, we're going to work our beginning of the row increase. So now we're basically going to do everything we did here, except for now we're going to create 2 diamonds on each side. Other than that, it is exactly the same. So we're going to start with our increase, and for me, I'm going to chain 7. The pattern does call to chain 6. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And into that very same, very first stitch, we work our increase, and then it's just a series of chain 3, skip 3, and in the 4th stitch over, work your treble all the way up to this point right here. In fact, I'll go ahead and mark mine. You can clearly see that this treble is right, these 2 trebles are touching. This treble is right on top of this treble. This right here is where I need to start my next series of 4 trebles in a row, right here. And again, you can clearly see that this treble is on top of this one. So just keep working your chain 3, skip 3 until you get to that point, and then work your 4 trebles. 1, 2, 3. Chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and in the 4th, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so I will be right back. Okay, so now I have 1, 2, 3 left before, so it lined up perfect. I don't need that anymore. I just mostly did that for visual, put that stitch marker there. So chain 3, skip 3, 1, 2, 3, and in the 4th, start working my 4 trebles in a row. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then continue until you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 stitches left unworked. So what we're going to do at this point, you're going to chain 3 and start working your 4 trebles in a row. 1, 2, 3, 4, to where you have 2 stitches left unworked. Then you're going to chain 3 and skip over those 2 stitches and work your point in the point. Work that V stitch. So I'll be right back. I'm going to work my way up to there. 1, 2, 3, 4. I have worked my way up to this point here. I have 1, 2, 3, and that's where I'm going to work the 4th. So here we go. Chain 3, skip 3, 1, 2, 3, and start working right here, my 4 trebles in a row. So that's 1, 2, 3, and 4. Chain 3. Skip these last 2 and into the point, make a V-stitch. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And there we go. Then just repeat that on the way back down. Skip the first 2, and in the third treble over, work your 4 trebles in a row. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then over here, I can clearly see that this treble is on top of this one. So I know that this is where I need to work myself up to. So it's not going to be any different than whenever you make your way to the end. Just work it like we have been working them down here. No increase on the end. And I'll come back for the next row and I'll give you some homework after that. Now time for homework. So let me just show you how that looks. Working it all the way to the end, you can clearly see. Okay, so once you're done with this, that is the end of row 15. So now row 16 to row 22, we're going to do exactly what we did down here. The only difference is we now have 2 sections on each side of groups of 4 double crochet. That's the only difference. So 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, and 22. So for the next 7 rows, do exactly what we did from here on up. That's it, no different. Very simple. And then we will get into that beautiful elaborate border, at least as far as how big I'm making my personal one. If you want to make it bigger, then all you have to do is repeat this section right here, where you just work the solid trebles. Whenever you get to this point in the next row after the solid trebles, you're just going to repeat exactly what we're doing here. And whenever you get up to this point right here at the point, you may have 3 trebles that you will need to jump over. In other words, you'll work your 4 trebles in a row, and then there might be a chance that you'll have to skip over 3 trebles instead of 2, and then work your center V-stitch. That's it. Very simple. And depending on how big you want to make it, you just keep doing that. I believe the original pattern is going to be this first section, the second section, and then the third section before we get into the decorative border. I'm only going to work sections 1 and then this next section here. So all the way up to row 22 before I begin working on the border. But it's very simple. Okay, and again, you can pick up the pattern and follow it along that way. So let's go ahead and work what we're going to call the second section, part 2, part 2. And again, that is going to be, this was row 14, the solid. Row 15 was our first row of our second section. So rows 16 to 22, that's 7 rows, just like this. So I will work up a couple of these rows and then come back and show you so that you have a visual of exactly what that's meant to look like, since you now know how to work the stitches. Okay, I will be right back. And of course, we're continuing to increase at the beginning, but not at the end of each row, just at the beginning. So I will start that part with you. For me, that's a chain of 7. I remind you again, the pattern calls for a chain of 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then back into that same stitch. That's our increase. Chain 3. And work 1 treble over the top of each treble. Work 4 trebles where 4 trebles exist. I will be right back. So I am all done. Let's see if I can get this whole thing. I might not be able to get it all. Oops, bumped the camera. There we go. So now I'm ready to work my solid row. So that's going to be An exact repeat of what we did here. Absolutely nothing will change. When you get up to the center point, you're going to do exactly what you did before without chaining. You're just going to jump right into the chain 5 space, work your chain 5 V-stitch, and then just jump right over into the top of the first treble and start working all the way back down. So let's go ahead and do that. Now at this point, this is where you would work the third. If you want this to be a full-size shawl, this is where you're gonna start on the third section here. I am stopping at this point, and I'm gonna begin working on this section here. But the instructions to work this section, it basically tells you to repeat rows 16 through, I think it was, yeah, 22. Just repeat rows 16 through 22 again right here. So it's the exact same instructions. So if you are now ready to, if you want to learn how to do this part, then go ahead and work this next solid row and then come on back and we will start working on the lower border, decorative border area. Let me go ahead and start this row with you, our solid row. So we're going to turn and chain 4 for a treble crochet, a UK double treble. And then later on in the pattern, we're going to be working US double trebles, UK triple trebles, or treble trebles. I've seen them called either way. And that's going to be where you yarn over 3 times instead of 2 times. And that'll be in that lower section there that we're about to start working in. Okay, I'm going to work this all the way across. So, finished that whole section there now. It says, I'm skipping over a whole section as I explained before. So now the next part says to follow new pattern passion. I don't remember. What does it say? Follow new pattern. Okay, so what that means is right here. We're going to do these. In other words, we're not going to be adding these. They wrote it this way. Look. Follow new pattern. Okay. I didn't write it like that. They did. And it's not, I looked at the whole pattern. It's not any kind of a new stitch or anything. We will be introducing new stitches later on, but not at this point. So I surmise they mean as if the pattern you were just starting it brand new is everything we did before minus this section right here. We will continue to work the repeat. So here we go, starting with a repeat, a very, very basic, simple 2 rows done. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay. So I will be back once I'm done working these 2 rows. I really don't think you need me to show you how to do that. Just basically make 2 rows look like that. Okay, I'll be right back. Okay, now time to work on the decorative lower border, actual decorative part. So we have our 2 rows of just the plain stitch done. So now let's go ahead, turn and chain 7. Now the pattern actually calls for chaining 7 at this point. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, so it says into the next space to work 1 double crochet, chain 2, 1 double crochet. So into this space here, we work a double, chain 2, just yarn over once, almost yarned over twice. Then work a double, work 1 double into the double crochet, or the treble crochet. That's what we have so far. And then it says to repeat, which means we're going to work 1 double, chain 2, 1 double into the space, and then a double over the top of the treble. Then into the next space, double, chain 2, double, double, chain 2, double. Then we work a double over the treble without chaining, and then again without chaining into the next space over, double, chain 2, double, and then without chaining, 1 over the treble, and again without chaining, double, chain 2, double into the next space. That's the repeat until we get to the point. And when you get to the point, come on back and we will work that portion out together. So this is how it should be looking. Okay, I'll be right back. It's a little dark in here. I might have to put a little light on. Okay, so here I'm at my center point. I've worked my last 3 doubles in a row, so I'm already in the chain 5 space. So now I'm just going to chain 5 and keep on going down the other side. So into that same chain 5 space, work double crochet, then 1 over the treble, and 1 into the next chain 5 space, chain 2, and carry on. Okay, so I will work this all the way down to the end and then come back and join you when we get to the end. There we go. Be right back. So finishing up this row, I've just worked my first double crochet, 1 into the top of the treble, 1 into the chain space. And I think that's it. Hang on. Just looking at the pattern, and we have to work 1 into the turning chain. So 1, 2, 3, 4 into the 4th chain up. There we go. Okay, moving on to the next step. Okay, so now we're going to yarn over 3 times for a double treble, or in the UK, I think it's called a treble treble. And into this chain 1 space, we're going to work a cluster with 5 double trebles. So here we go. Yarn over, pull up, and pull through 1, 2, 3. Yarn over 3 times, and redo that 4 more times. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. I have 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. I need 1 more. 2, 3. There we go. Yarn over, pull through all, and secure with a chain 1. Now yarn over 3 times again and into the next chain space. We're going to work a V-stitch. So that's going to be 1 double treble, chain 4, and another double treble into the same space. Now yarn over 3 times and into the next space over, work another cluster. That's 1, 2, that's 3, yeah. 3, I lost 1 there. That's 4 and 5. Pull through everything. Chain 1, yarn over 3 times and into the next space. Work a V-stitch. 1, 2, 3, 4 chains. Then another double treble. There we go. Then yarn over 3 times and in the next, work your cluster. This is the repeat all the way to the center point. When you get to the center point, come on back and I'll show you what we're going to do there. Okay, now I am at the center point, worked my last cluster. So now we're going to work a double treble into the chain 5 space, chain 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and another double treble into the chain 5 space. Then yarn over 3 times and into the first chain 2 space. Start working your clusters and V-stitches again. Okay, I will meet up with you when we get down to the end. So on the end here, I managed to make an extra chain space, and I think it was at the beginning right here where it says to chain 7, turn, and then work 1 double crochet, chain 2, 1 double crochet in the next space. I did that right here on this row, and it created a whole nother space, as you can see there. Yet this pattern says that my last stitch on this row is supposed to be a cluster, but I had no choice but to make it a V-stitch. And I think it's because because if you look at the end of this row right here, come all the way to where that row ended, it does not end the way it began. It actually ends with essentially 4 double crochet in a row. So you can see I started by making a chain space, but I ended by simply working like 4 doubles in a row. I don't know if that's an error in the pattern, and it could be, and that's not a big deal. It's not a big deal. It just means that this next row is going to be a little different for me, and maybe for you because you're following the instructions I'm giving. So it says for the next row, we're meant to work a V-stitch over the cluster and then a cluster into the chain 4 space where the V-stitch should be, but we have that backwards. So I'm going to start with a cluster and then work a V-stitch over the next cluster and then a cluster in the chain 4 space, and so on. So what I'm going to do is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now I want this to look fairly centered, so I'm going to go ahead and chain an extra 2. Now the first 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is my double treble. And then 2, I'm going to create a little spacing because I just want this to be used as a border. I'm not going to make this part of the cluster. Now, independently, I'm going to go ahead and make a totally separate cluster. Make sure I yarn over 3 times, right into the chain space. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. There we go. Pull through everything. And so you can see my chain 5 acts as sort of the height of the cluster. The chain 2 gives it a little room to breathe, sort of like how these look here. So it just gives it a little space just to keep it with continuity. Now over the top of the cluster, we're going to work a V-stitch, and I'm going to work into this portion of this cluster right here. See how it looks like there's a single crochet right there? It is right here. And I'll hold that open so you really get a good look at that. Here is our chain 1, and here is the technical top of our stitch of the cluster. So that's what I'm going to work into. So yarning over 3 times and into this portion right here. Chain 4. And 1 more time. I've worked my way up to the center point now, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to work a cluster V-stitch. So make a cluster into the chain space at the point. 1, 2, 3, That's 3. 4 and 5. Chain 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I know that's technically 7, but that's going to be fine. And then make another cluster in the same space. Okay, pull through everything. Chain 1, yarn over 3 times and into the top of the next cluster, start working your V-stitch. There we go. Then just work your stitches all the way down to the end. Okay, that is how your center point should look. Of course, you can manipulate these to sit wherever you want them to sit. Okay, I'll be right back. I finished this row the way I started the last one. I worked my last cluster into the last chain space, and then I chained 2 and worked a double treble into the 4th chain up. So there we go. Moving on to the next section. Again, gonna have to augment the pattern ever so slightly because we ended with clusters instead of ending with a V-stitch. And it's not a big deal. It just means we begin it differently, but the rest of the pattern will be worked as normal. So we're gonna be working double trebles again. So I'm gonna go ahead and start with a chain of 5 for my first double treble, and then add 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, yarn over 3 times, jump over the cluster, and you'll see the V-stitch has 2 double trebles. Into the first one, work a double treble, chain 4, and into the next one, work a double treble. And this is the repeat all the way across. We're just going to skip over the top of the clusters and chain 4. We're going to work double trebles separated by chain 4s. So there you go. Chain 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, yarn over 3 times, and there you see the V-stitch. We're going to work a double, I'm just going to say DT. We're going to work a DT here, chain 4, and a DT here, because I don't want to keep saying double treble. I just know I'm going to get tongue-tied. Chain 4, and work another one here. In fact, I don't even have to say what stitch it is. We know what stitch it's going to be, so I could just say work 1 here, chain 4, work 1 here, all the way to the end, or to the point. And when we get to the point, I will come back and join you for that. Here we go. The point is a bit rounded off. There we go. There we go. I'll be right back. Well, I suppose at this point I don't have to show you because I can just explain it. It's very simple. So here's where you're going to work your last DT, chain 4, and then work a V-stitch here with a chain 6 between the stitches instead of the usual chain 5. Then continue in stitch pattern to the end, and then work another row exactly the same way. So you're going to work your final stitch in the 4th chain up. Yeah, the 4th chain up. And then just chain, you could say chain 5 plus 4, so chain 9, and turn and just start working into the tops of the double trebles that are already laid out before you. So we're going to work 2 rows like that. As you can see, we're doing this portion right here where we're working 2 rows of just plain double treble. After that, we're going to work a solid row and then 1 more row before it's all done, and we can add the fringe. So Go ahead and work your 2 rows just like this. Where are we at? Right here. Then come on back and we will start the solid row together. So let's go ahead and turn and chain 5 for a double treble. Yarn over 3 times and work 2 double treble into the first chain space. Now work 1 over each double treble and work 4 into each chain 4 space. And you can just open this up a little bit like that. I imagine they did that so that we could keep a certain stitch count. So here we go, 4 into each chain 4 space, 1 into the top of each double treble, and work your center point as usual. Because we're working the double trebles, we're going to maintain 6 chains in the point. You're going to work your double treble, chain 6, and then another DT. And then you're going to just keep working. Okay, that's 2. 3 and 4. There you go. So that is how this portion here should be looking. Okay, so just continue all the way, and again, when you get to, there you are. When you get to the center portion, you're going to work your 4, then 1, chain 6, 1, 1, and then 4, 1, 4, all the way to the end. Okay, I'll be right back. Okay, for me, this shawl is plenty long enough for what I intend to use it for. So this is going to be my last row, but I'm going to show you how to work the last row, and then we will work the fringe together. So we're going to start by turning and chain 7. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Then we're going to yarn over 3 times for a double treble, and into the very next stitch over, work a double treble. Chain 3, 1, 2, 3. Yarn over 3 times, skip 3, 1, 2, 3, and in the 4th stitch over, work your double trebles. And this is the repeat all the way across. You're going to work the center point as usual. There it is. You're going to work the center point exactly how this center point looks. Just your double treble, chain 6, double treble, and then continue to work all the way to the end with no increase on the end, because this chain 7 and work into the very next stitch over was technically an increase. So, and then that's it. And then we're going to work the fringe. But for me, I'm going to go ahead and just work the fringe because I tried this on and it is definitely long enough because I haven't even added the fringe yet. So even more length will be added. So this is where I'm going to cut, weave in, and I'm going to play around with the fringe a little bit and determine exactly what type of fringe I want. What I mean is pretty much how long do I want it and how spaced apart do I want it. So I'm going to go try it back on and see just how long I want. Well, after trying it on again and really looking at it, I decided I don't think I want any fringe right now, but I have plenty of this left over that I can always add fringe if I want to later on. But I think I really like where it's at right now. It looks a little more modern, a little more clean line without the fringe, but I love fringe. So I love it on occasion, I would say. So I think I'm going to keep it fringe free for now, but you never know. One day I want to wear this and I'm like, screw it. Let me put 50 pieces of fringe on it the night before. So as far as yarn amounts I used, I had a total of 2, 4, 6, 7. I had probably about a total of 750 yards of this. And in this smaller, shorter version of this, I used 2 and not even a quarter cakes. So that is 2, 4, 5, we'll call it 600. I used about 600 yards. So if you want to make the full size, you're going to need somewhere between 750 and say probably 850. I don't know. Depends on tension and whatnot, but about 750 to 850 of this. Oops. Okay, so here it is. I'm just making sure that I'm in view. Here it is. I think it looks great. You can zhuzh up any simple outfit, summertime mostly, or the spring, you know, with just a one color, little pop of color or multicolor. But as you can see, I'm wearing a solid black outfit and just a pop of color, and it turns it into a very interesting outfit, in my humble, not so humble opinion. And so here I'm wearing it with the point, the center point all the way off to the side, the knot all the way off to the side, so we can wear it a different way. So you can bring your knot off to the askew, you know, off to the front side. Your point will be a little more in the back. You will have a little more coverage back here as well. And of course, it's still plenty big enough to wear as a shawl. I don't typically wear shawls like this. And it's also plenty big enough to wear it like this. See, this would be a little more the way I would wear this. A jean jacket, some blue jeans, and some boots. And it's very stylish. Red looks great with denim. I am really, really happy with this. I am extremely happy. I wanted to make something with this red. Whenever I got the new red yarn in to make my knitted tank top with, I knew I needed to make a shawl with this red here. And it did not disappoint. I am very, very happy. Okay, now I'm gonna come sit down and hang out with you for just a minute. Okay, you guys, let me know what you think. Of course, you are gonna be able to pick up the pattern down below. In the video, I pretty much laid out the entire pattern. You didn't necessarily need to see the last part because it was mostly the same as usual, only we're chaining 3 and skipping 3, which means we work the next stitch in the 4th stitch over. So that causes a little bit of where it's wider at the bottom than at the top. And then you add your fringe if you want. I don't know that I'm ever going to add fringe to it. I think I like the clean lines on the bottom. We shall see, but let me know what you think. And of course, if this is your first time visiting my channel, I focus solely on, now down the road, that might become a lie. So I focus 99.9% on vintage and antique crochet. This year, I do believe I will be incorporating a once every 1 to 3 months vintage knitting. I am very new at knitting. I just learned how to knit this summer, and I am still definitely on the basic beginners, but I am currently trying to tackle a pattern. If I wind up not being able to get it, which reminds me, there are some people I need to thank, since it will be a little bit down the road before I get that knitting video up. Let me thank those who reached out to help me with that pattern. Okay, I wrote down everyone's name. So Vicky, Ed, Kitten, Naomi, and Noella. And it was Noella's formula that I wound up using, although all of those people and many in the comments had some very helpful tips and tricks. But it was Noella's formula. She figured it out. It is a very difficult pattern, but she did a wonderful job. And she also gave me her blessing to add this to a tutorial in the, not a tutorial, of course the tutorial, but in a pattern in the Etsy shop. So I am very grateful to her for that, because I can offer this to everyone. So I wound up typing the whole thing out, all of this, I typed it out. This is the repeat, by the way. It's about 42 rows, makes one full repeat, yes. So the book really did, I think the book really did a disservice by just giving you that tiny little graph and 8 rows. It 100%, where's 8? 100% the pattern doesn't just stay the same from 1 to 8 or from 5 to 8. No, No, the pattern has lots of different changes and different stitch counts in order to keep it cohesive and looking the way it's supposed to. And Noella did such an amazing job figuring out this formula. The big brain power on you, ma'am. And thank you so much for giving, to everyone who emailed, giving your knowledge and your time to me the way you did. I can't tell you you guys are just wonderful. One person on the internet calls for help and here come the cavalry. That's sort of how I felt, like, doo, 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 doo. You guys are amazing. And I'm so impressed by everyone, including those who offered to help in the comments. But yeah, I have the full 43, forgive me, it's a 43 row repeat. I have the full repeat. And of course, Noella will get the credit for it in the pattern whenever I do eventually make it available to pick up. And it will be the old pattern, not the one that's in the Modern Lion brand book. Somebody asked me if I was using the modern pattern. I wound up going to the modern pattern because I simply couldn't understand the vintage pattern, but I will not be including the modern pattern whenever I do make that tutorial, if I'm able to make that tutorial. What I will do is down below this video and in the future, I will give a link where you can go pick up that Lion brand book. Now that book is just over 20 years old, or right at 20. I think it came out in 2003. So it might be just a little over 20 years old. And they are still publishing it and printing it and publishing it. So therefore it would be illegal for me to offer it in a pattern in my Etsy shop, but I can offer the vintage pattern along with Noella's wonderful formula. I'm going to put this formula to the test. I started it, oh, it's under my desk. I started it 2 nights ago, and then I stopped because I wanted to finish making this shawl. So I will pick back up on that. No, I said that after this, I'm gonna spend a couple of days working on this pattern, the French pattern. I'm gonna spend a couple of days working on that. I will play with the knitting pattern more frequently than I play with some of my other knitting, because I would like to turn it into a tutorial. So what I want to do is, it says to work it until you have 15 inches. Well, I kind of wonder if, I think maybe 2 repeats is going to get us about to that 15-inch mark. So if I can get two full repeats done with this formula, then I'm going to start over again on camera and we're just going to go. I feel like I would have confidence in being able to work the rest of the pattern now that I understand this. So, okay, guys, let me know what you think. Please like the video if you liked what you saw. Please subscribe if you're new, or if you are a regular viewer but just don't typically subscribe. Subscribing does help tell the algorithm this is popular. The vintage crochet and the antique crochet, people are liking it. And if you have anything to say, please don't hesitate to comment, because liking, subscribing, and commenting, these are all things that the algorithm loves to snack on, and it winds up putting my content out there before even more people, which is what I would really like. And it's free, it's just, if anything, if nothing else, just like and share with anyone or any group, your Facebook group, wherever you may hang out at. Share with groups that you think might be interested in this content. Okay, guys, I love you lots.